Good morning, guys. Walter Murley, Real Estate Mentor. We're talking today about buying houses, more specifically buying multifamilies. I'm in a room full of real estate agents, so we're going to train them on the actual process. One of the biggest issues, as you guys saw last week, is that agents don't necessarily know the process. We had a great conversation. We started moving everybody along. The other side of it is, as investors, because I have a lot of investors on my feed, I want to teach you guys the process, because a lot of times new investors don't actually know the process of buying a home themselves. So good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing? Everybody here licensed? Licensed? Yes?
Yeah.
No? Yeah.
Inactive, I got it
Inactive?
in between jobs.
Don't worry, I'm in that
Couple
boat too.
weeks.
Very
Really?
cool.
Yeah, I got this.
But, yeah.
Let's get them reactivated. This
So happy.
is the height of the market. Everybody's familiar with the bell curve, right? It does this, it comes up, and then it goes down. Take a guess at what point of the market we are at the moment. Well, that's, okay, let me draw it. Let me give you a little
Get the peak.
representation.
Right at the top.
Yeah.
Who knows how long that spread's gonna be?
All
but-
this. Yeah. Actually, I think this is all my writing anyway.
Alright, I can get this thing to activate this thing.
So if we were to look at the market, and we were to say, everybody knows what happens in 2008, right?
Yup.
Everybody remembers
I was a
that?
mortgage broker. I
Yep.
cried every day.
So it was like this, we're right here. So we've identified a slowdown. We don't know how long the slowdown will last. We don't know how long the arc will go. It could flatten out, it could continue to arc for a while. It may just be a new direction the market's taking, but the trend is such that we're no longer going straight up. So that's just something to be aware of. Now, when you're working with investors, investors don't really care so much about whether it goes up or it goes down, because the right investors who are buying right now are cash flow investors. Anybody who's into flipping or speculation, like those investors, are, well, for me as an investor, I don't even call them investors. I call those guys speculators, right? They're flippers, they're rehabbers, they're coming in and they're taking a guess on the market, taking a gamble. We've shifted a lot to wholesaling, working as real estate agents, and just buying bigger buildings. That's the key for us right now. And those are the types of clients you want to attract. When the market shifts, the reason real estate agents die and leave the business is because they just weren't working with the right clients. That's all it is. It has nothing to do with the less transactions. The same amount of transactions happen in 08 as in 9, as in 10, as in 12. Same amount of transactions, they just shifted
Different
to
stuff.
the agents who had different clients.
Okay.
Right? It was different agents doing the transactions. That's the thing. A lot of agents who have been booming the last generation, this whole last decade, said, yeah, I wasn't that great of an agent, and then suddenly it just took off, right? The people who've been doing great the last 10 years started in a market that was conducive to them, right? We're shifting to another market. We're shifting to a different side where the market continues to either stagnate or drop. And so a different type of agent will do well because it's a different type of buyer buying. Does that make sense? Everybody's got this?
Yeah.
So we'll go around the room. Any guesses on what type of buyer it is? Who buys in a down market? We're not talking about the bottom, because we're down at the bottom for the next 2 to 3 years. If this trend continues and it arches and falls, we're still down at the bottom for another 2 to 3 years. So what buyer buys on the downside?
Maybe big money investors that have a lot of money anyway. They're
Big money
investing.
investors, maybe.
Town
It's
investors?
just a guess.
They do most of their purchasing at the bottom.
Correct.
Like what?
They do most of their
Correct.
purchasing at the bottom of the cheap.
Yep.
Prices are the cheapest.
Right. Big money investors have no problem not buying. That's the thing. Like real money
They
has
want to
no
scoop
problem
up
not
all the
buying.
cheaper stuff
Correct.
at those cheap, yeah.
All this
Correct.
stupid money.
Mm-hmm.
Inexperienced people? You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? On the way down.
Well, anybody who buys on the way down is either inexperienced or buying for cash flow.
You said experienced or in?
Inexperienced
Oh,
or buying for cash flow. Because you'll see people buying on the downside thinking, oh, this is the bottom. Oh,
Yeah,
look,
exactly.
it's
Yeah,
gone down a
exactly.
little bit. This must be the bottom.
so-
Because people think it's like the stock market where it goes, right?
Yeah.
The stock market recovered in 8 months in
Yeah.
2008. It recovered very quickly. The real estate market, it took it 8 years,
Yeah, it took a while, yeah.
Took a
Okay,
very
I
long
understand,
time. right? Maybe it took 4 or 5 years. We can say it was 4 or 5 years, right? Because we saw our bottom in 2012. Stock market saw its bottom in 2008.
Yeah.
And then it took us another 4 years to get back up. So I'd say it was an 8-year process of down and up, and the stock market was an 8-month process. So there's a very different mindset of like people who actually study. Did anybody here know that? Anybody have that number in the back of their head? And online, I guarantee very few people did. What is it?
Did not know that.
Right, because most people believe that they're tied together because the same incidents happened around the same time. The starting point was the same, so everybody just assumes that everything runs the same. So we'll find in the next market a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm gonna buy this and flip it, or I'm gonna buy this and hold it, or I'm gonna buy this and live in it, with the presumption that we're at the bottom, with the presumption that we're getting to the bottom. So there's gonna be one, a very unsophisticated buyer, buying for the next couple of years. That will always happen. It's going to exist, but you can't be working the sophisticated buyers at this point. They're not holding, they're not buying, they're not doing anything. They're just sitting back, right? Sellers are going to become more prevalent, but they're nowhere near even starting that, right? The prevalency of sellers is 2 to 3 years away. So there's still no
What do you
point
mean
in
prevalency? What do you mean by that?
So we're in a seller's market, so there's no point in working sellers right now.
Oh, okay, okay.
Everybody else will teach you it's a seller's market, get the listings.
Yeah.
It's a seller's market, the listings are far harder to get. It doesn't make sense to go after what's difficult. We're in a seller's market, we're buyers.
Good point.
Supply and demand, right? Where there's
Yeah.
more supply, work the supply,
Yeah.
right? Service them, just be better than all the other people who are servicing the supplier, right? So over the next couple of years, we're gonna see a shift where it's sophisticated buyers are buying for cash flow because they're moving out of higher end markets.
What do you mean by cash flow? Like buying
Cash
cheap?
flow.
Cash flow. I'm
Flow.
sorry, my
Yeah.
ears are
That's all right.
allergies block.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry.
It's good. Ask the question because somebody at home I may not be enunciating, so it's perfect. So cash flow, definition of cash flow, everybody gets it? We know what
Yeah.
this is. This is money we make after expenses as
Yeah.
investors. Very good. So cash flow is what we're going to be purchasing for, but it's mostly going to be people who have high-end assets that they're selling at the height because they see it and they're looking to put it into something that's not going to lose money. So we're going to see the multifamilies actually go up in price. We'll see the valuations of multifamilies continue to rise as they are at the moment. We'll see them continuing to rise. So working multifamily investors is still going to be a key. It's just where they're buying from. The local investors will not buy because the local investors are going to see the market and say the prices are way too high, right? Because multifamilies are going to continue to rise. And they're going to say, well, I was buying units at $20,000 a unit. Why am I going to buy them at $80,000 a unit right now? So that pool of buyers will disappear. But the buyers, the houses will still be sold because prices are going up, right? On the multis.
Yeah.
We're gonna see the singles dissipate and drop just like they always do because they're not cash flow property, you can't hold them. The way this was purchased this time is very similar to the way things were purchased last time. And the drop that we're gonna see is gonna be very similar except different reasons. This time it's not mortgage lending issues, right? Randy, you know the mortgage lending
Jesus,
process is still very tight compared to what it was
Yeah.
last time.
Way tighter.
We've loosened up, but it's not any different, from what it was
Can't
10 years
stop
ago. Yeah.
Inputs, yeah. I don't even go there, but yeah,
Mhm.
there's no needers anymore.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, none of those.
So like a lot of my REITs, the stocks that I invest in, the real estate trusts, are mortgage backed, right? They're mortgage stocks,
Yeah.
right? And the highest dividend yielding stocks I have. And I've talked to investors and said, well, that's what happened last time. You gotta be careful with those. The reason the dividend yield is so high is because everybody's afraid of them. Everybody's afraid to get into them this time.
Yeah.
So it's like my yield's 18%, 16%. I'm fine with it. I'll keep running
Yes.
that, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Because the more I know, the mortgage industry has they tightened down so much, and they just open it just a little bit.
Yeah.
Nothing compared to what it was.
Yeah.
So this
So-
time it won't be mortgages. They won't be mortgages that are defaulting that are going to cause our issue.
Mm.
It's just income. It's literally just income. And people just don't have the income that to support the inflation of prices of everything,
Yeah.
right?
It's kind of true.
Income stayed the same the last 50 years, right? Since the 1970s, income kind of went flat and inflation stayed, but income went flat when they took the dollar off the, what is it called? Off the gold standard. Yeah. These are economical facts that every agent should have.
Yeah.
They're economic facts that every investor should have, right? You gotta understand the way the economy works. You gotta understand the forces that we're playing with are not magical forces. They're systems. Human beings are systems, right? Everybody does something as a cause and reaction, right? Supply and demand, cause and reaction, cause and effect. It's the same. So, what strategies do we take going forward to make sure we're working with the right clients? Anybody got guesses? Has anybody identified the right client yet? Are you guys still, is it a little foggy? No? Alright, okay, maybe I haven't been very clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is everyone here real estate sales license? Like,
Yes.
active?
Either, actually,
I just
everybody here
got
is either an investor or a
I
license.
took a weekend class, got my
Yep.
license like 2.5 years ago, that was it, and now I'm
Nice.
in between regular jobs.
So you
But I
never,
mean-
never worked as a salesperson?
No, I've been
Okay.
I was a landlord years ago,
Okay.
and sold it because it was just time consuming, but,
Yeah.
so I believe in it,
Yeah.
but I just, yeah, I'd love to get, I don't know, my next
Yeah.
step, but real
Okay.
estate is exciting, it's just,
Real estate is exciting. What is your goal? You looking for cash flow?
well, right now I have no cash flow, I'm
Yeah.
unemployed. I'd love to do real estate sales, but I need the income, so I'm a little bit chicken shit. I can't have commission only.
Yeah.
So I got my bills really conservative, very low.
Yeah.
So I'm just figuring it out.
Right. Okay. So then a class where you
Just
learn
know where you're
sales is
at.
going to be
That's
very
the best thing is
valuable.
to know where you're at.
Right.
You know?
It's a good evaluation. And being a CS, you probably evaluate a lot. We'll go into that at
Let's
some
see.
point.
I was just thinking about this.
DISC,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So DISC is, are you familiar with DISC? It's a
What's that?
behavioral process we use in sales, right?
Ah.
So D, like Randy is a high DI. He's aggressive, attack, move, do things. Actually, Alicia's
What does
also
DI
high.
and CS stand
I'm
for?
gonna explain it all in a second.
Oh,
Just
sorry.
hang in there.
Okay, sorry.
Hang in there.
I don't mean to.
Maybe she's an I, dude.
Right?
I
I'm
don't know.
sorry.
No, she's a C.
I know, trust me. I swear, I was thinking about it. I was like, oh wow, what a good assistant.
So D, I, S, no, S on the other side. S, C. So you have your extroverts, introverts, you have people oriented, then you have task oriented. So the questions you're asking are all C caution questions. So cautious, stable, influencer, and demanding dominant.
C for chicken.
Right.
Chicken shit.
Correct. So that is,
Okay, I get it.
yeah. So that's the process. So in sales, it's important to understand who you're talking to because I can go and talk to you in a certain way now instead of talking the way I normally would. Right? Naturally, I'm just going to be aggressive and I'm going to influence and high five and talk a lot. Whereas with C, it's what question do you have now? What else would you like to know? What else would you like to know? What else would you like to know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, still like to see the big picture though, stretch my comfort zone.
Of course you would. Yeah, that's a C thing. Understand everything that's going on.
Okay.
I want to know everything. Tell me everything.
So funny.
The difference between a C and a D is D's do things, C's study things. So that's, and you may look back in your past and say, oh my God, yeah, I haven't done a lot of stuff.
Read the Harry Dents and all that.
Right, but
like
you do know a lot.
Kiyosaki.
Yes,
Spend a lot of time playing.
planning,
Yeah.
thinking, reading,
Okay.
studying, yes.
Don't actually, oh, I see.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
why I'm
There it is.
I'm definitely a C. I'm like,
There
give
it
me the
is.
summary and then do some stuff.
The
I
awareness
see,
is
I
setting
see.
in, yep.
I see.
Uh-huh.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Sorry.
So, that sidetrack aside,
Okay.
the person you should be working right now is somebody who has property or has income from a high established location, right? A highly established location is something like Boston, it's something like LA, New York, Miami right now.
Those
Well, not so
insulated
much
areas?
Miami, but areas with high income.
Okay.
Areas with high income, with high inflation, high appreciation. So areas where the buildings went up in value very high and likelier to stay that way,
Yeah.
right? Because it creates because they can't build any more in those locations, so that's why the areas are just like, they kind of compact and the values go up.
Yeah.
There's still a supply, there's less supply, more demand, right? So those locations have buyers, but those locations also have people who are looking to invest because they're making this money through real estate. They're seeing it through real estate, they're making the money, and they're looking for cash flow, but they can't cash flow where they are because the prices are too high.
Yeah.
So those buyers are shifting. It's just like in 08, we had a lot of Asian buyers come from China and slide in, and they started purchasing in Boston.
Yeah.
If you go into Dorchester, if you go into Quincy, all the new up markets up in Boston, it's full of Asian
A lot
buyers.
of Chinese, yeah, exactly right now, yeah.
That
Right,
is,
ton
so
of
is
stuff.
Vietnamese, it's not just Chinese.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wanted to say.
Vietnamese, was Chinese, yeah. But there was a lot of Oriental money. Like, you can't say Oriental's the wrong one, Asian money, right? So that came in. That is a real experience, and you can
Yeah.
see it in the towns when you are in there. When you look at the names of deeds,
Yeah.
you can see it, right? Fallbrook didn't experience that on a large scale. We're going to see that money shift down now. We're going to start seeing that money shift down towards us because they're used to cash flow. They bought things well, but now when they go to try to buy things, they can't. And they're shifting out to the outer skirts, the outer markets. So you'll see that it's not just Boston, it's immigrant Boston, right? It's the first generation immigrants who are thinking, okay, it doesn't work here anymore, but this is what I do. Where do I shift? It's very important to go and find them and operate with them now. And you got to understand the market. You've got to understand theirs, and you got to understand ours.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to have that conversation. It's a unique skill set. Not many. I don't think the agents here are going to survive. I really don't. I don't think the local agents to the local community are going to do very well because they're afraid to go to where the money is.
Yeah.
It's going to be the agents who have those clients already who are going to be willing to take the time to come down here, right? Because they can't do any deals up there. So they're going to say, well, where are the deals happening? Sure, let's go shop down that way.
Yeah.
They have the unfair advantage right now. And so when the market shifts, we'll see that shift occur. And it's going to be those agents who do a great job. Now, being on the other side, we're not trees. We can move, right? We can shift. We can adjust where we're working with, who we're working with. One of the greatest pieces is the internet. Just because they live an hour away doesn't mean we can't make a phone call. Doesn't mean we can't get in contact with them and say, hey, look, I'm the local professional here. Let's operate. Let's work, right? Boston's very big. The market around it is very large. There's over 1 million people living there. So there's a lot of people, a lot of cities, a lot of communities that are going to do very well based on spreading people out of the main city, right? People are going to stay living there because they can't leave. They're so intertwined in their lifestyle there, but they will invest their money outside, right, to where the better returns are. Agents in the local city who are just waiting for the phone call. Andrew, what did we talk about yesterday? Agents from the past, where they're just, waiting they got their license, waiting for somebody to call them. God, just yeah, it's not going to happen. The calls won't come through. So you've got to adjust. You got to pivot. You got to get aggressive in something different.
Yep.
Danielle, what's up, homie?
Hi.
How are you?
Saturday.
So, knowing what your ideal buyer is, means that you've got to talk to them a little differently. We're getting this, right?
Yeah.
It's not the normal conversation of, hey, here's a house. Do you want to buy it?
Yeah.
It's completely different. It's, well, yeah, based on the economy, based on what's going on, I agree with you. Things are changing, right? And based on what we saw last time, Boston did this, right?
Yeah, I didn't really know
We
that.
did this. There was a big change. There was a big change down, and it was a very small change up. We just went to the same level. What's the question?
Do you mean by way, like Fall River area, as opposed
South
to Boston?
Coast.
The
Yes.
whole, okay, just
Yeah.
a
Rhode Island.
perspective,
Yeah, I
okay.
think so.
Look at all of
Providence
that.
to the Cape,
Yeah.
that whole
Okay.
zone, all the way up to Taunton.
Yep.
That whole triangle.
Yep.
Same
I'd
zone.
say outside of 495. Everything outside
Yeah,
of
exactly,
495.
exactly, yeah.
Right.
I'm in
Including.
between Boston and here, that's why.
Right.
Okay.
So, all right, Keith Rose is calling. Do you wanna give him a call? So, point of the question.
Well, when
Yeah.
you said, I just wanted for perspective, so.
For perspective. Got you.
Oh.
Yes.
I can't escape. I
You can't
escape.
trust me.
The information's not relevant, but
The last time they-
got you.
So if I
Yeah.
want to be rich, I can't be in a C.
You can be, but
Yeah.
you've got to get a partner who's not a C. Right.
Ah.
You got to get a
Well,
partner who's
billionaires-
going to force you to do
There's a
things.
large chunk of billionaires that are all engineers and whatnot.
Right.
So, and they're all introverts too, so there's not,
Correct.
still hope.
There is hope. There is hope. You just got to be.
I'm just playing.
You got to use your skill set to do something
Who wants
valuable.
to be homeless? You gotta be a
Correct.
little piece of you know?
Correct. Well, homeless isn't that bad.
You're independent, right?
Right? Obligated to right?
So I wrote the
Pros and
book.
cons of it all.
In the
Oh,
book,
really?
if you go
You
to
said
the
we didn't know.
chapter,
Is it gonna fix me with being stuck in a sea?
no, that's
You
unfixable.
can't change
Oh.
that.
You can't
Learn new
change who you are.
tactics,
Oh
but
no,
you know.
I'm cursed.
Like you
C
say,
for
let's
cursed.
see.
Oh,
Let's
no.
I just told you,
You have to go on my job and look it up and see what your strengths are. It's about building on strengths.
Yeah. So if you're a C, just you acknowledge that you probably won't take action and then catch yourself. That's
Yeah.
it. Right. So in chapter 5, divorce and betrayal, And that's where broke
I love
was.
this.
Alright? that's where it got really bad.
I
And
might
that's
want to
where
read that book.
I was. It's a good book. It was written by
A very
Walter
famous guy.
Amarillo. Local hero, maybe.
Who's that guy?
He's saving my life.
Who is Walter?
So,
Where
thanks,
do I
brother.
get it? Yeah, online.
You can
Yep.
get Amazon.
I also have them in the car for $20. They're
I'll
available
take it.
today.
There it is.
I got you. So I was at the lowest point in my life where I lost everything. I had to start from less than nothing. Less than nothing. The second half, though, is all about the growth mindset, changing the past and how things worked previously, deciding that I am not going to deal with being broke anymore. So that decision, yeah, nobody wants to be homeless, but sometimes we end up that way. So you deal with it, right? It's just one of those pieces in life. Oh, she's terrified. So I'm like, oh my god. It's okay. There's always, so the reason, this is something I read recently, I really love. The reason you don't have the job or the money or the income that you're looking for is you just don't have the right people in your network.
Yeah.
It's one of two things, skill set or network. That's it.
Yeah.
So if, like, yesterday, I called a couple millionaires because I'm looking for money on a deal, and I was like, hey, you got cash for this? And I'm like, let me take a look. I call my normal, like the kids I grew up with, and they're like, no chance, bro. Not even close. Like my millionaire buddies are like, yeah, let me take a look. It sounds like a decent project. Let me move some things around. What's the time frame on this? And they understand the time frame. My friends are like, maybe like 10 years from now.
I'm gonna start saving
Maybe.
now. I'll invest in 2 years. Maybe.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you got 2 weeks, but so it's a very different. So where we are at right now, if you're uncomfortable, it's because you don't know enough people, or your skill set's not in
That's
tune.
definitely, I don't know enough people.
That
I
absolutely.
don't know anybody but my dog.
I know. That's
Sorry.
exactly what I expected from us. It's either a dog or a bunch of cats. So the choices were very slim here. It's okay.
A few options. I had a tenant with a lot of rabbits too. Those are really popular.
Rabbits are an option.
Or not.
We keep it open. We keep it open. Don't worry. Salvageable. I promise. I promise. So knowing that our client is a little different, they're gonna have different conversations with us. They're gonna want different things from us. They're gonna want to know NOI. Anybody know what NOI is?
Oh, net operating income.
Net operating
Okay.
income.
I knew
Very
that
good. You
too.
read the book? You read the book? I got a bracelet waiting for her right here. I got the Agent Alchemist bracelet. Actually, it's I am an alchemist, so
Uh-huh.
open concept.
Is that similar to ROI?
It is operated from ROI, right?
Okay.
Or it's a way to operate ROI.
Like a continual, regular income?
Right. So NOI, for anybody who needs to know, NOI is net operating income. We take it from income versus minus expenses. Just NOI.
Oh, okay.
ROI is a calculation based on what you put in, right? So
Okay.
return on investment.
Ah,
So there's slightly different calculations, but you would want to know what your NOI is to figure
Yeah.
out what your ROI was.
Yeah.
Right. So first step in the process. We're getting this?
a little
Very
bit.
good. So these numbers are necessary, right? When you're talking to an investor, they don't care what the porch is, they don't care about the location, they don't care how many people are in there, they just care what is the NOI, what is the net operating income, and so that they can figure out what their ROI is. Most investors know what down payment requirements are.
Yeah.
They've done this before. We're going to find we're working with new investors. So new investors don't know what the process is because these are people who just bought a single family, it went up in value, and now they sold it and they rolled a lot of their money into the next property, but they've got $100,000 sitting there to reinvest because they made $300,000 or $400,000 and just rolled most of it, they pulled some out. This makes sense. This is common. You're familiar with Boston.
Yeah, all day. There's
Very common.
tons of cash out there. It's crazy.
Yep, it's nuts.
They'll be sitting on $1 million properties, like $100,000 on it. That's
They
it.
bought it for $250,000.
Yeah,
They're like,
exactly.
well,
I'm a millionaire.
literally,
Yeah.
literally in Boston, you could if you bought something 10 years ago, well, like 20 years ago, you bought something in Boston, you're a millionaire today.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Like it's just because of the location, because of what happened, right?
Yep.
The problem with them is that they believe that that's how real estate works.
Yeah, exactly.
It works that way in Boston, not across the rest of the country. So some of them are wising up and they're looking to it because they also realize you can't cash flow in Boston.
Yeah.
They also, the only way you did is when you bought them 20 years ago. And yes, you're making a ton now,
Yeah.
but the cash flow is very different. It's a loss.
Oh, the
Everything you
rentals,
buy,
really? Oh, because
Yes.
it's so
It's
high.
so expensive.
prices
Yeah.
are too high
Our
and
rent's so high.
not high enough.
Oh.
So the
Yeah.
ROI is much lower. Yep.
Ah,
It just hasn't caught up because appreciation is so much faster. That makes sense? So understanding this, understanding how the market in Boston works, and be able to have this conversation, because most buyers in Boston will say exactly what you just said. Yeah, but you know, the rents, well, have you actually looked at them?
Yeah.
Have
Do
you
the
gone and
estimate.
looked?
Studied the buildings
Yeah.
Yeah.
overall. Like, I've seen a lot of buildings.
Have you looked at what the rent
That's
actually
crazy.
is, what the landlord's actually pulling?
Yeah.
And I know landlords who've put their house on Everett, right? Put their house on the market to rent the units out, and they think they're gonna get $3,000, but they end up getting $2,200.
Yeah.
So there's this perception that because it's worth so much, the rent should be there, but they're not.
Yeah.
The rents are higher than our rents for sure.
Especially if they miss the cycle or something, it goes past September.
If
they're
they
gonna be
miss
taking
the cycle,
bumps.
they're in trouble.
Yeah. That's
So
a huge
Boston has a
factor.
real cycle. Providence has a real cycle. September,
Yep.
right? September's fill season.
Yeah.
Once everybody's in school, once they've like after
Oh,
that they're in
August.
school. They're not shopping anymore.
Yeah.
So if you miss the cycle, dude, you got
Yeah, it's
your
nuts.
discount
Stay
season
put.
begins.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are real things in Boston, and a lot of people, even if you lived in Boston, they don't know. Now, a lot of the investors that we're working with now from the Boston area are in their 30s. They're in their 30s and their 40s. And they are familiar with the process because they went to school there. They're looking to stay there. They found jobs, they're looking to stay there, but they're looking to invest. They're not willing to come down here, right? They're very cautious with their time, and they don't look at, this is a casual investment to them. It's a super casual investment, right? Now, it's a big deal and they're nervous, but they're not like coming down at 12 o'clock on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Because they've got an important job that pays them well. Maybe they're making $80,000 to $150,000. This is the incomes in Boston. So for them, they're like, I'm not going down there unless
I'm
it's
hoping.
the weekend, right? Only
Yeah.
coming in on the weekend. That's the way they're operating. So you've got to make sure that you've lined up a bunch of properties. They're not coming down for one house, right? You've got to line it up.
C5.
But now here's the deal. We're lining up multifamilies, so a little more complex. What's up, Aaron? How you doing, brother? Ryan, what's up, big dog? So it's one of those pieces where your skill set has to change. It has to change. Stay the same or change, right? But if you remain the same, your paycheck will diminish or stay the same, right? And that's the reality of the situation. The people who upgrade themselves and learn how to work with this specific type of investor, because for the next 2 or 3 years it will be this way. Their money's not going anywhere.
Mm.
When the whole market drops, their market won't drop. It may slow down, it may adjust, but it has nowhere to go beyond a certain level.
Yeah, just flatlines.
We don't have that insulation. We can keep going,
Yeah.
right? There's nothing here to sustain us at the moment, right? The jobs aren't here.
Yeah.
Even the train will not stop that from happening.
Yeah.
Look at Worcester. Worcester has a train an hour away, similar demographics, larger city,
Yeah.
and yet their rents are only a little higher than ours this time around, but last time around there was no effect. They've had the train for 10 years, right?
That's a good point. I never thought of that. Yeah.
A lot of investors, very few investors are thinking about it. When you really, like, it's just so easy to buy into the process, to buy into all the, well, the train's gonna change everything. Why would the train change everything? You got a great job in Boston, you still gonna ride a train for an hour and 10 minutes? Why?
Yeah.
If you're from here, you're gonna drive the train
Yeah.
for an hour and a half, but what does that do for the city?
Yeah, the income here doesn't do anything. Yeah.
It doesn't change anything.
It's cool to have that option, but
It's good for the citizens, but it's not
Connection.
bringing us more people,
yeah.
right? The reason prices go up is because more people come to a city. That's why prices go up, supply and demand, right? When more people move in, rents go up. And when rents go up, home values go up. So if we're creating a train that's coming in and just sending our people up there, their incomes went up, right? Some people's income went up, but it doesn't change much.
No.
We didn't add people to the
It's
system.
like poor people might be coming down.
Correct.
You know, so they'll pump them down, but yeah, it's not
might.
an economic boom.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's just a way to shift people away or bring
Yeah.
people in.
Yeah.
The whole point, any city knows, the whole point in the city is to bring more people in. So why does Boston want the train here?
Mm.
Grab our resources, just bring
Yeah.
more people in. That's the whole point. It has nothing to do with the city, like helping the city in a way. It's about taking the resources and putting them where Boston wants them. Can't house them up there, so it's cool. Okay, we'll just go to a place that has people already happy living there.
And train the worker bees in.
And then bring them in and ship them in, right? So understanding how the economy works, you can actually have a decent conversation with investors. Now, do they believe the train's gonna increase and appreciate? Absolutely they do.
Yeah.
And the first thing I say is, we're buying for cash flow. right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, do I believe the train will help us? Absolutely. Absolutely, it's going to help a lot of people here. We will see an appreciation, but it will take a decade to see it. It's
Yeah.
not going to be train moved in, boom, pop, like hot.
Yeah.
Around the train, we'll see little bubbles that do improve, just like Charlton Hospital.
Braintree's going through that. They rezoned a whole area over there. That's
Right
a big
around
spot,
the
yeah.
train.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah.
Like we'll see, but the city itself will not see an adjustment. Just it's just moving to a different
What do you
section. The
think the
city's
rents
just
though,
shifting.
yeah.
What is it?
What do you think the rents over here though?
Won't change.
Just stay
so
the same, yeah?
just that section will change.
Okay.
Because remember, we're not adding people to a city, so rents don't
Oh,
change.
yeah.
We're
that's
shifting
true,
within
yeah.
the city.
They all did it, yeah. For
Correct.
20,000 people, then it might bump something, but okay.
Right.
The demand goes up. I got you. Okay.
And that mindset that you have right now is what everybody else is thinking. Man, the train's gonna bring people.
yeah.
It won't.
Yeah, it's all, yeah.
It's just gonna,
That's
it'll
hilarious.
shift the market. Within us, it'll shift the market.
Interesting.
Like when a hospital is put up, a new job is put up, people wanna be right around their job, they wanna be right around the hospital.
Yeah.
So you see Charlton's area just exploded because Charlton's expanding and buying up property. Everybody knows if you buy there, there's
Yeah.
a good chance you're gonna
Be
sell your
that
house for $1 million,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it changes the local economy, but it does not change the actual city,
Yeah.
right? The actual amount of people in the city. These are important facts, right? Now, when you're talking to your investors, yes. Do you want them to buy around the train? That makes sense,
Yeah.
right? Buy where the train's gonna be, that makes sense, because that's an appreciation play that they can use.
Yep.
Do you want them to invest in the city? Of course, cash flow is gonna be here. The cash flow in this city will not change, it's gonna stay the same.
Mm.
It is what it is, right? By bringing in the right buyer, the person who they can't sustain themselves there, they can't invest there, putting them into a place that they can easily access, yeah, the train will help them in that manner.
Yeah.
The only way we're gonna get rents and property values up in the city is to attract more businesses to the city,
Okay.
right? That's
Yeah.
what brings in people,
And then I
right?
was gonna say again, that goes back to bringing in people. That's
Right.
gonna bring in the people, yeah.
So that's the only way a city operates to actually do well. Boston can Boston can throw a train and have people excited about it because it has jobs.
Yeah.
Right. It's the jobs, it's the people, it's the entrepreneurs, the businesses that fill a city up.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things Ron and I talk about is how do we get more businesses, more people in here, because we have a portfolio here, right? So and our
Yeah.
portfolio will continue to grow, and we're going to continue expanding it. How do we bring jobs in, right? So we talk about it every so often, like how to actually do that. But for agents, the key really is going to be working with the right type of buyer, bringing them through. For investors, it's knowing how to get that property to the point where the right type of buyer will purchase it. Understand, flipping a single family right now is a dangerous market.
Mm.
It's like, who wants to buy it, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're in that, if you can stay in that 250 range, those houses will be fine. You can continue flipping those.
Yeah.
3-2s, just don't get into questionable properties. Don't get into 1 bathrooms. Don't do
Yeah.
2 bedrooms. You stay in the 3-2 range under the 250 mark.
Family will always want it.
There's always going to be somebody who wants to buy a house.
Yeah.
There'll always be a family who's going to want to buy a house. It's once you get above that, that you're getting into that luxury spot, that's what gets hurt.
Yeah.
Condos are what gets hurt, new construction gets hurt. So we're very cautious when we're teaching people exactly what to be investing in. Look, I can give you the best advice. You can still go do what I'm telling you and have missed one thing that I said and still get hurt,
Yeah.
right? It's entirely possible. What we're supposed to do as agents is educate our buyers the best way we possibly can. When we get a seller, it's the same process. Hey, we're at the height of the market, right? We're at the height of the market. There's a good chance, especially if you've got a multifamily home, that you're gonna be okay. That if you sell it right now, it's gonna be hard to find another deal similar to this. If you're looking to sell a multi, move to a single, this is a great time to do it.
Mm.
Because the singles are stagnating. They're not really doing anything right now.
Yeah.
Likely they're gonna drop, they're gonna go down in value. So going from a multi to a single is a downsize, right? It's a downgrade. They're looking to get out of it. That's that type of seller, the old Portuguese couple, the older couple who's been here for a while and they're done with running multifamilies and want to shift to a single family. That's a market that will do very well over the next couple of years because they're shifting to something that nobody really wants. Well, not nobody, but less people want and can afford. They're going from a big multifamily to a $250,000 single family.
Yeah.
That market will be okay, right? Doing that shift, it's when they're selling a 3-family to go buy a 6-family, they're gonna find that that 3-family is the same price or like significantly less than the 6-family because the 6s are starting to go up in value in a crazy way because we can't get a hold of them. And usually
Why is
investors,
I don't get it.
because all the investors are buying them right now. So there's only like 20 that sell a year, so it's supply and demand, right? When the sixes go on the market, Boston's paying for it, so the local investors aren't
I have
buying.
a 6-family that got beat up on, needs to be rented out for sale, and literally I just stopped telling people, like, people hit me up, I'm like, hey, I already got it sold, and it's not sold yet, but there's like a laundry list of people that have
Wow.
called me.
Wow.
Cause it's 6 units, so.
Oh, huge.
But for
And
the
it's
last,
commercial,
What's
for the
that?
last
It is,
2 years,
but
The investors
still.
don't care, yeah.
for the last 2 years, that house sat on the market and nobody wanted it.
Exactly,
It's
yeah,
just
Wow.
now that the opportunity has arisen,
yeah.
where
It is.
it's
Exciting.
it's not local
Everybody's looking
investors,
for the
is it?
cash flow, like you said, they need to protect their money.
Right?
Yeah.
What's up, Jamie? It's not local investors, right? It's,
Oh yeah, exactly, and half of them are from out of yeah, exactly. There's a bunch of guys from Boston that called me like, hey,
Exactly.
because I had it on Facebook. So
So it's one of those pieces where we're aware of how the market's shifting, and we know the two main clients, right, are people looking to downsize here, downsize out of multifamily, get into a single. That client still works, it makes a ton of sense.
they made their money on their building already.
Correct. And then the investors from Boston, well, LA, Vegas, whatever. Not Vegas, they're not making money.
And they're the ones that would
Denver.
buy the multifamilies?
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty cool, so you connect and get everyone. each one.
Correct. Correct.
Huh.
You gotta understand who's doing what. If you're working with normal buyers, like the normal buyer, they're gonna buy a house no matter what, right? But every other agent is working with normal buyers. The 80% of the agents just wanna work with families selling houses.
You know,
And that's cool. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of houses to be sold. In the city, there's 6,000 single families. So, of the single families, they have about as many multifamilies as we have.
yeah.
We've got 3,003s, 2,002s, and between the 5s, 4s, and 6s, there's about another 1,500. So there's about the same amount of singles as there are multifamilies. The difference is that the multifamilies don't sell as often or as fast. But the real estates don't work with them either. Don't like it, they're not good at it, they fumble the deals more often than a single family.
And you think it's because they're not studying the market enough to have the conversations?
I could talk to
Or
any
just-
real estate agent. I could talk to any real
Yeah.
estate agent
It's my
in
experience
this
too. I
city,
see it all the time too.
and they have no
yeah.
clue.
Yeah.
They have absolutely no clue. They don't know what NOI is. They don't know what rent
Yeah.
roll is. They don't know what an estoppel letter is.
Yeah.
Even in this room, I can say these things. I know, like, it's still new stuff,
Yeah.
right? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Outside of this room, agents that have been in the business for 10 years will not know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They will not know the numbers because they're not real estate investors. All they've ever done is sold single families.
It's one of the biggest things that gave me confidence when I was in Cambridge a lot.
Right.
Seeing that we'll be in a big meeting and they're
Yeah.
asking me questions and I'm like, shouldn't you guys be the experts? You're in Boston, right?
Aren't you licensed?
Yeah, yeah. Like, dude,
Like, didn't they teach
okay,
you that in school?
I'll jump up there and talk. Like whatever. Fuck it.
What's up, Matt?
Shit's funny.
So it's just one of those pieces where understand that the education you guys are receiving is different from what every other real estate agent is receiving.
Yeah.
Most real estate agents have no clue what's going on, and they have no clue where the buy. Like they're gonna, like the market's gonna turn, and they're gonna be like, I don't know what's happening. It's just the downside in the market. Everybody's getting out. Right.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting out. Everybody's getting out. No, just you guys are getting out.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other guys are getting rich. Right?
Yeah.
The people who are working the right client are getting rich.
Yeah.
If you're here trying to work with a local investor to buy a multifamily right now, it's not gonna work. They're not gonna buy. They can't. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense to them, right? So they'll look at 1,000 houses and never put an offer in. Has anybody worked with anybody like that yet?
I was somebody like that.
You were somebody like that, yeah. Well, you could have been buying.
My
So
age.
that's just your C.
My age.
Hey,
didn't know what
hang
she was
on.
Ron's my business partner, so he buys property with me.
Oh,
He's a C,
Oh.
I'm the D. We get it.
So you're hanging out with
you admitted it, I didn't admit it, I,
I didn't want to say. So you come in tomorrow.
Okay.
Sure.
too funny.
Yep. So we know that there will be people who locally, like all the local investors are sitting there, yeah, too expensive, too expensive, too expensive.
It's 50 grand more than it was.
But they'll tell an agent, hey, let's go hunt. Yeah, find me something. Find me a deal and we'll buy something, right? They'll tell them that. It's one of those things. So it's one of those pieces where it's like, oh man, I got a buyer, I'm working, this is great. You know, they're a big investor, they're gonna buy all these houses. 3 months go by, 6 months go by, no offers. It's like, what? You're spending all your wheels like doing
18
nothing.
showings later.
You belong out there lead genning where the money is, where it is, right? The real money is not locally here. And if we were just working the local climate, local clientele, we're never gonna get past the local income,
Yeah.
right? You've gotta get outside and bring, just like Boston's doing, right? They're smart. take from here and bring it up there. They need a workforce.
Mm.
We're looking to take income from there and bring it down here and give them an income,
Yeah.
right? And let them spend their money investing in fixing our buildings and finding tenants to attract to the city, right? We're still living off of the city, but we're utilizing that train line, right? We're utilizing that connection that we have.
Mm.
The long-term plan is absolutely build businesses. I hope you're all very successful entrepreneurs who are bringing 100 clients, 100 employees, and build businesses and build massive corporations that bring and attract people in. Or work with those clients, right? Convince the clients from Boston that, hey, real estate's cheaper down here, we got the workforce, bring them down, right? Over time, we'll see how it manifests, how it works.
Yeah.
That's really the only way to raise value in an area, is you've got to bring in jobs. And jobs are
Yeah.
created by people and businesses.
Yep.
So, that said, where are these people right now? Anybody got a guess where they're at?
Where what people?
Which people?
They're in Boston.
The investors.
Oh.
All right.
I'm
There's-
sorry.
There's only
So many questions.
wow.
Sorry.
There is only one person you ever need to think about, ever, right? Does anybody know what that one person is?
Me.
The business owner?
No. Take a guess.
Investor?
Take a guess.
Property owner?
Keep going.
I don't have no clue.
All right.
I'm lost.
I'll give it
The
to you.
I?
The person who has the money.
Oh.
There's only one person. If money is your issue, there's only one person you need to focus on at any given point. If you're thinking about somebody else, you're not thinking about the right thing, right?
True.
If you're broke, think about who has the money. Who has the money? What can I give them to get some of that money?
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah. What do they need? So I can make a spread.
What do they want
Yeah.
that I'm willing to service?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Because if they want me to go build a spreadsheet, I don't know if I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
But if they want me to go transact real estate, I'm in it. Right?
Yeah.
Actually, I could do the spreadsheet side too. I was once a C. Lived there for a long time. I get it.
You were, so there is hope.
Yeah. I mentioned broke. Kidding. No, I've always been an DIC. It's just that my C
Oh.
was stronger than the other ones for a while. I lived there in that space. So, who has the money? Who has the money? Define it. Define it in your head. Because you can only work two sides. You can work the buy side or the sell side.
Yeah.
If you're working the sell side, then you're looking for the older Portuguese person who's been in that multifamily and they're looking to selling it to a single.
Yep.
Right? Now you're gonna work two transactions, you're gonna work the sale, you're gonna work the purchase. Great network to be in. Or you're gonna go find the buyer who has a lot of money that they're sitting on and they're looking to purchase an investment property. There's two entirely different skill sets involved in this process. Very complex to be doing both. You've gotta pick one. Any other strategy will not survive because it's not scalable. Say you get that person who wants to buy that house, single family house, $250,000 house, right? That market, I said, will sustain it, we'll be here. When's the next time they're buying a house?
When they retire.
7 years. The average buys a house every 7 years, right? So you're losing a client every time you sell to that house, unless you're still in the business 7 years from now, and you should be, right, building a business. But I personally, I don't think you should be in this business more than 5 to 7 years. I think it's a retirement business. The whole point of getting your A license is because you're in retirement. It should be a fun, chill thing you do, or
100%.
it should be what gets you into retirement, right? It's like the last ditch effort. This is a business for people who like to talk to people. Like it's not a job. This is a career. It's a launching pad. It's a way to get in
lifestyle.
and get out, right? And so it puts you in the flow of everything, but you shouldn't stay there forever because it's unstable. It isn't a consistent income, right? I know. C's like scared. So
No, I see a lot of deals, come, go, have it on my phone.
yes.
But
So this is
Yeah.
not a stay in place job. It's a come in, kill it for 5 to 7 years and get out.
Yep.
So working single family is a dead end job. You got to meet a new client constantly, and you know those clients are fickle. They're not by the numbers. They're by the porch. Every client's different.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas
Yeah.
my client who's selling their multifamily to go buy a single family, pretty much gonna tell me the same story. Pretty much they all have raised their kids, they've had the house, they're retired now, they're tired of dealing with tenants and they wanna get to that single family home. It's consistent, I've run into it constantly.
Yeah.
So either get good at Portuguese or get good at pretend to be good at Portuguese, right? Like that's.
That's
Well,
my
damn.
market.
I've done the second one, right? I got good at pretending to be good at Portuguese.
That's my market. Those are
Oi,
my
como
people.
estás? Está bom? Sim, senhora. Vá trabalho.
I know bum dia, that's all.
Mas
Bom
that's
dia,
hilarious.
Magnifica. You would know Magnifica. Magnifica means more for me, right?
How do you say it?
Magnifica. Magnifica, yep.
Majbi.
So it's that's one market, right? And that doesn't take much smarts. I'll be real. That's an easy market. At least you just said that's my market. You're right. That is like
This is
the
my
easiest
first
thing.
look at
to
it.
do.
You just say, wait a minute.
It doesn't take a lot of thought or numbers, right? It's not a lot of C.
What are you trying to say about me?
You're a DI. You're an action.
She's trying to tell you it's an easy client.
Go.
You're taking it personal.
easy
He's like,
for
it doesn't
you.
take a lot of work. That's good for you. What? That's what? What?
Because it's natural to you, you're lucky, right? So that's what I'm saying is you already speak Portuguese, you're comfortable with that clientele, run it. Don't do anything else.
Don't
That
go learn
clientele
Chinese or
also
something.
needs rentals done, which you also are experienced with. That clientele will survive, right? Aldemona is going to do great in this next run. She'll do fine if she stays in it, because that's what she's always done.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody else will suffer because they don't know how to work that one client, right? Now, on the other side, there is the Boston investor, much savvier client. This is a client who needs, you gotta do the math. You gotta understand investing. You gotta be able to work with them. You gotta have that knowledge and be able to, because here's the thing, they're typically C's. They're very typically engineers. The people who make money in Boston are not
Got a
B's and
degree,
I's.
they're a doctor.
They're
somebody-
super
yeah.
educated. They've been in school for a very long time. They're very cautious people.
Yeah.
They're very stable people. You do have your salespeople out there,
Yep.
but that is not what Boston runs on.
No.
Boston runs on the biggest employers are colleges
Yep.
and hospitals
Yeah.
and like MIT, right? Like these are
Yeah, shit like that. Yeah.
those are the biggest employers out there. Is the medical field and the tech field.
Yeah.
It's not jobs that are salespeople, right?
No, that would.
And-
you gotta run anything for a
He's a-
salesperson.
Also exciting.
The I's are salespeople, the D's are the CEOs, right? The people running these companies, but those people are they're the minority out there,
Yeah.
right? They're still everywhere. There's a big mix of them, but who people who have the money are the C's. It's going to be the engineers.
Yeah.
It's going to be those stable people. So in order to work with them, there's a big adjustment that our salespeople have to have, right? Our I's have to find fun in handing over reports and answering questions. You gotta find a fun way to do it because the C's have the money. They're the ones who are looking at life through a spreadsheet,
Yeah.
saying, okay, this is where I made my money. I understand the industry makes more money if I do it in this manner. And they're doing the research, and then they stumble across an agent who's selling Fall River or New Bedford, and they're like, oh wow, I heard that that's where the cash flow is. Well, let me show you my spreadsheet of, yeah, that's exactly what it is, right? This is exactly where the cash flow is. This is exactly what makes sense. And now you've got a relationship that you can build, right? Because it's logical and it makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's got to come from an information standpoint, and you'll be able. Now, C's do have a mix of S and D in them, right?
I'm so
will
glad I
be.
came today.
What is it?
I'm so glad I came today.
Right?
This is exciting. So-
That's a C thing too.
Oh.
I came to a place with information. I love it. There's so much knowledge, I can't even take it all in. It's good. Keep it coming, keep it coming. You're welcome. This is what we do, right?
It's awesome.
So it's knowing how to operate with our C's.
Yeah.
So for the D's and the I's, hanging out with the C for a little while is going to be valuable for you guys. Because you've got to learn to role play with
Gotta
those
slow
things.
it down a little and stuff, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right? Listen to the questions, answer the questions, find out what they're looking for, and understand they're making a detached, unemotional decision. It's
Yeah.
what's the safest route to possibly do this? Well, what about managing the building? Got a proper manager, no big deal.
Yeah.
Right? Like, well, what about if this happens? Not even an issue, got a lender for you, no big deal. Right? Well, how do I find the money? Not an issue. This is the process. Everything's
Yeah.
got to be handled for them. Otherwise, you'll lose them to the research, and you're gonna lose them to research anyway. But like, they're gonna go, oh, I gotta Google this. Whatever you just said. What's
Yeah.
gap funding? What's bridge
Make it
lending?
easy.
Yes. And by easy, she means give them lots of information,
Yeah.
right? So easy for an I is tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Right? Easy for a D is just do it for me. easy for an S is, why am I doing this? Oh, now that I understand why, sure, I'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Easy for a C is give me all of the information, right? If you gave what's easy to a C to Randy, Randy'd be like, I'm not doing it ever.
Yeah,
No
he's
way
not
I'm going through
going
the report. Like, I'm not reading any of
My
this.
mom's coming, I gotta go do some shit.
Yeah. Randy would be like, I'm gonna go make money. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know about that report, but. But you saw how she reacted. She said, make it easy.
Yeah, so it's good.
Yeah.
Is that in this
I
book?
got disc on my mind.
What is
all
it?
the
Is
time
that in this book?
Oh, not even
The
close.
DICS?
No, disc
No?
is
Something
so
else.
different. Yeah,
Ah.
disc is behavioral. Right. It's a different study.
Tony
There was a
Robbins
book
thing, right?
though. What is it?
about. Tony Robbins came out with it or some shit, right?
No, but Tony Robbins
Uses
relies
it?
on it heavily.
Okay.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
his coaching programs, he relies heavily on it.
Yeah.
Yep. That's why the funnel for Tony Robbins is a disc profile.
Oh.
So that his coaches can call you hitting you with disc immediately.
That's interesting.
Super clever.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's
that's
that's awesome. Yeah.
That's so funny. I forgot who was asking me on, I don't know who I was working with, I was thinking it was you just now, but I don't think it was, but they were asking like, make sure you find out, it wasn't either, but basically wanting to know what style ad they came in for, like if somebody responds to something,
Yep.
was there a Ferrari in it, was there a book info in it, like you're saying, like.
Understanding what funnel they're coming
Yeah.
through means you hit them with a different type of marketing through the whole process.
Yeah, different way to respond back to them.
Right. So for us, we have different, like we know we're building a funnel a certain way because of who we're trying to attract.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So here's, if you want to write this one down, here's who you're looking for in Boston. It's literally the C. The CD is the ideal person.
Yeah.
We fill our RIAs with CDs. Like that's why we do our real estate investor event. The C's want the information, the D wants to take action. You go in there, you do not see eyes anywhere in our real estate investor association, right? Like you don't see eyes.
They'll be the agents.
They'll be the agents, they'll be our team. Like it'll be, the eyes will be the agents in the room, but the C's and D's are the ones asking questions. So when I speak to them, I speak differently than when I speak to you guys, right? When I go up there, it's information.
Yeah.
It's boring as heck. But for them, they're like, oh my God. Like I wouldn't go into the detail I go with them, with you guys. I'd lose you. It would be terrifying. Like everybody would be on your cell phones, right? It would be instantaneous, right?
Movie stars.
Whereas in this, we make it fun. It's engaging. We're talking about specific pieces, and we're not going into any detail, right?
Yeah.
Where she's like, well, she's asking a ton of questions because I'm not giving the speech as a C. Does that make sense?
A deep dive, yeah.
Right. But when you go to my events at the RIA, you don't see a lot of questions.
Okay.
I'll ask. I'll say, do you guys have any questions? And sure enough, one or two people will have a question.
Yeah.
But based on their personalities, there should have been way more.
Okay.
So the fact that I'm answering all of them is very comforting for the C's. When
You know,
Thanks very much, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. See? But at the end, they're like, no, you gave me so much information. I got to go do research now.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you hear at our RIA. Is, oh my God, you gave me a ton of information. Now I got to go research.
Yeah.
Really?
I just gave you a ton of
I know the
information.
salespeople in the room is like, that would have been enough for me.
Yeah.
Fire away.
Yeah.
But listen to it now. You guys are seeing the game from a different side now, right?
Yeah.
But listen to it. Listen to what they say after I ask, any questions.
Yeah.
They'll say, no, I just got a lot of things I gotta go research. If you hear anybody say research, change, just adjust, hit them different.
Yeah.
No, you've got to get into C mode. And you're gonna slow down a little bit. No.
Break out the reports.
Yes, great. Like, hey, I've got a report for you, right? The guys I collect money from typically C's and D's, right? They're typically the people who are capable of accumulating cash. This side over here, not so great at it. They're people, right? Everybody in the room who's an I, tell me, you got more than 40,000 in the bank right now? I know. It'd be hard to hold on to. You're not an I, Ron. It'd be hard to hold on to that, right? Whereas,
Buying a business.
yeah,
I've done it.
the DC side has no issue. They're like, well, the more I have, the safer I feel, right?
Yeah.
The more I have, the better life is. So that's where, like, you'll see task-oriented, people-oriented. People are like, oh, well, I gotta give it away. I gotta spend it with people. I gotta do something with other people. The D's like, yeah, but money I use to get things done, so I'm gonna keep a little bit
It's
more
hilarious
around.
because every time I'm trying to open up a business, I'm always looking at like some kind of people thing or whatever else.
Yes.
It's hilarious that you're saying that.
Same, I run a real estate office,
Yeah.
right? A DC would not run the realtor side. right? Like a DC would be like, yo, I'm not dealing with people, right? They would just run the investment side. The investment side of this business is a DC strength, except we have the blend, right? He's SC, I'm DI, so that's how we're able to combine people and utilize the both, because you can't do it without people. Being very real estate investing doesn't work without people. You need the agent, you need the investors, you need the banks, you need the inspectors, the contractors, every trade, appraisers, like it's so many people involved. If you don't play nice with people, you're not gonna get a good deal.
Yeah.
It's just is what it is. So this class, this training, should last you the rest of the year. Not too much of this will change. This is one of those like fundamental, like go do the research you've got to do to be able to have these conversations, but understand that this isn't going to change. This is kind of where we're at on the South Coast for the next 2 years, 2 to 3 years.
That's what you think the top is, we'll hang out up here for a little while?
I don't know how long we'll hang out here, but I know that everything on this side
Okay.
is consistent with what I just said.
Oh, okay, yeah, you were saying that before, okay.
Everything going down, because Boston will be losing a little bit of money too, so they'll be trying to protect it, shift it to where they can mitigate their losses. In a depressed city, it's hard to lose money, right? When houses are only costing you $200,000-300,000, it's hard to lose $600,000 on a property.
Yeah.
Does that make
Maybe
sense?
10-20, but
Right. The percentages may stay the same,
yeah.
but it's way easier to spread it across a bunch of small cash flow properties as opposed to one cash poor property, one that loses money, right? Instead of taking an appreciation hit and you shift it to something that's not going to go up or down in value, but it's going to actually make you money. This conversation is something they don't know. Right? I sat with a buddy of mine the other day. Met him up in Smithfield, Rhode Island, and we had Buffalo Wild Wings together, and I'm sitting and talking to him. He owns a big appreciation property, and he's like, "Yeah, but it cash flows." I was like, "You make $1,400 a month off of this, but there's $600,000 in equity there right now. Like, your ROI is terrible." Yeah, but he's like, "Yeah, but it cash flows." And I was like, "Dude, like if you shift that $600,000, drop it into 4-6 families,
It's 900.
what was it?
It's 900,000.
900,000? No, that's not his equity position.
It's worth 1.2, and he's got.
I did the math.
like
It's actually
3.
worth 9.
Oh, is
So
it? Oh, yeah.
I went through and I had to. So this is the thing. I had to teach him what it's actually worth.
Yeah.
Because when he puts it on the market, it's not going to be worth, like, difficult conversations to have with these people, right? Because they're looking and they're like, "Oh yeah, I saw a house next door go for this, and I bought it for this, and it went to this." And I followed, and I was like, "Well, in 2008 it was worth this, that's what you paid. And this is where the trend is right now. And so why would your house be worth more than the trend of everybody else's?"
Yeah.
Right? Like it's a true trend. It's not worth 1.2, it's worth 9. So
Interesting.
once we evaluated that situation, he was now more
Appreciative,
reasonable
right,
with he totally got it.
Yeah.
But look, I'm not trying. What's the point of me selling you on this concept? I'm just telling you what I know as an economist, that this is what it is. This is what the economy is.
Yeah.
I sell these constantly. This is what my job is. You're a passive investor with 2 properties. I've done 12 in the last 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Very different behavior. And I'm selling and transacting for other people, right? So a very different skill set. Sold him on it. At the end of it, so the whole point of that is the amount of equity he actually has.
Yeah.
So I told him, I was like, well, you move that, say you went and cash purchased these, because I wouldn't cash purchase these at all. I would leverage the hell out of it, and I buy a whole lot more. But say you went and cash purchased, each one of them is making you $1,400 a month. So you get your cash flow up 4 times what it is at the moment,
Yeah.
and you're locking in. Because the reason I had to go and explain the valuations was because it also went down in value,
Okay.
right? So he bought it at, well, in 2008 it was worth $600,000. Now when he bought it, he paid $300,000, and now it's back up to the assessor's card, the tax assessor. And it's like, oh, it's worth more than that. I was like, yeah, it was worth more than that in 2008 too, right? Like it always is, right?
Yeah.
What you sold for, what it was worth, like those,
Yeah.
like follow that. And I told him, I was like, so what happens next? We're here. What happens next? I was like, oh, it might go down in value, but I'm so high up. And I was like, no, you're actually here. And if it goes down in value, how much have you lost? Say it does exactly what it did last time. How much have you lost?
Yeah.
He was like, oh, about 300,000. All right. Look at the average 6-family in Fall River. How much did they lose? Flatline. Same valuation
Yeah.
the entire time, but they cash flowed,
That's wild.
right? So it's a conversation they don't understand. They haven't had the conversation. But once you explain it to them,
Yeah.
everything
Talk it out.
shifts because they're like, oh my god, like I almost made a big mistake by holding this thing. I'm losing my money. The right thing to do is either refinance it or cash out of it and shift into something stable.
Yep.
Shift into fall room, buy something that's going to last. It may not be sixes. They may be more difficult to find, but maybe a portfolio of threes.
Yeah.
That's much more realistic because it's just much more of it. And that's one of the pieces that is part of the conversation. Just because I explained it and it makes sense to you guys, doesn't mean you don't have to go explain it again.
Mm.
You guys didn't have the knowledge, right? And you guys are
Mhm.
professionals. This is what you do. Study real estate all the time. So these guys don't have it either. They're accountants who are just like reading articles and they see prices are going up. Everybody in Boston hears that Boston prices are going to continue to appreciate. They'll continue to go up, but they also think that their market's going to turn. So there's this concern. They're assuming every market around them appreciates like Boston.
Yeah.
They have this assumption in their heads, and they think that everything goes up and down the way Boston does, and it doesn't. Boston, it stops, and then it goes, and it stops, then it doesn't go down.
Yeah.
It can't, because there's no more room to build. So supply and demand, it affects it. Here we have so much land, so much to build. We have no jobs in comparison to Boston.
Mhm.
So, like housing is not a shortage here.
Yeah.
Housing is a shortage in Boston,
Yeah.
right? I know you may believe it's a shortage.
It's a different thing we're talking about
It's
though.
a-
My
yeah,
version
right.
of the shortage and your version are different, okay?
Mhm. It's a perceived shortage here. There is a perceived, because people still have, one family will live in 3 to 4 bedroom houses. In Boston, one family is living in 1 bedroom, right?
Mm.
Of that house. They're not living in 3 bedrooms. They're living in 1 bedroom houses with their kids, right? Like it's a different lifestyle up there. So just understand, like, you gotta have these conversations with these guys. They're not thinking this way. Nobody is. They work a job, but when you give them the information, you give them stats, you give them reports, they're C's, they'll move with you. They're not gonna work with somebody else who can't have this conversation. That make sense? You guys get a lot out of this? Valuable? Yeah? Yeah? Alright, so the event is coming up. Go to it, www.gwalteramarillo.com. We're going to teach you how to get all the money. It's called Get the Money for a reason. The event, a lot of people tell me, oh, I can't buy the next property because I don't have the cash. Randy, how easy is it to find cash?
So easy.
As long as the deal cash flows,
Exactly.
right?
There's an abundance.
As long as the deal cash flows, I can teach you how to get the money for it. When you have a choice, always work with the best. I'll see you guys out there.